Hi, I want to thank ServiceNow for getting me out of my house for the first time in 6 weeks and back to the office. It's nice to have a different view. My name is Mike Colvin. I'm the IT Integrated Operations Manager at Chevron. You can think about that as managing IT for IT capabilities at Chevron, Operations Center, monitoring, software distribution, and of course, ITSM. So I've been here at Chevron for about 30 years in the Bay Area. In a whole variety of roles, and then on the personal side, raised 3 kids, have 3 World Series trophies and 5 Super Bowl trophies. So with that, what I wanted to do today was spend a little time sharing a story of our ITSM journey to ServiceNow. So in IT, we are always challenged to work faster, cheaper, with quality. And in today's world, I really believe IT just has to work. We can say we have service level agreements, but I think when people want to use IT, it's so ingrained, they just want it to work. And so now today, we also have this demand on us for an end user experience. So let me tell you a little bit about our story. I'll talk about where we were. I'll talk about our overall project and how we got it done in 7 months in a global enterprise. And then I'll tell you what I thought worked and what some of our learnings were. So first, for those that haven't heard of Chevron, we are one of the world's largest energy companies. Our goal is to bring reliable energy to the world to improve human life. We are headquartered in the US, though most of our workforce is outside the US. We go where the hydrocarbons are and try and do it safely and environmentally friendly. Now let's talk a little bit about ITSM and what you're more interested in, the IT space. Back in 2019, we were on the Remedy 8.1 platform from BMC. We'd been on it for about 3.5 years. We had a standard implementation that was global with about 7,000 users in about 40 different countries, 35 business units. Pretty good sized volume of incidents and assets that we managed. Common global ITSM processes were used across the function. But however, what I would say is our service request catalog was something that we let people build their own entries. And so we ended up with 1,200 disjointed forms that we asked our end users to come to, find what they wanted to order, what service or problem they wanted to report, and then hopefully be successful in getting it reported. This wasn't an end user friendly view. This was more a view of technology people trying to show their wares and not in an organized fashion. We also had about 63 different interfaces and integrations, so a lot of complexity of data going in and out. They were using some dated patterns as well. And it fundamentally wasn't a modern platform today that allowed API integration with easy access to data. And then fundamentally had a workforce that didn't really want to use the system due to its dated interface. So it was life cycle time for us in 2018. We did a strategy and looked at what should we do. And so as part of that strategy, we asked a couple of questions. One, there's a lot of different IT practices that we're all adopting and methodologies, DevOps, and primarily Agile. And I had a number of people in our organization who said, with Agile, is ITSM still relevant? And if so, then does it need to be unique at Chevron? And so those were the kind of the first 2 questions that we answered. So first, is ITSM still relevant? I think if you look at safe and agile practices, you'll find literature that tells you yes, it is. It is still important for us to know what assets and services we're managing, when things break in system restorations, how people are going to make requests to us for service, and how we look at problems or occurrences of incidents that repeat and look for solutions. So we believe, and our efforts show, that we can link safe methodology with ITSM in a complementary fashion. The second thing we asked was it differentiated to Chevron? Our original implementation of BMC was very customized. over the years, we had reduced that customization almost till nil. So we did have one single platform running common processes that was minimally customized. Now, that's not to say that the configuration wasn't complex. And as I said, we had a lot of integrations, many to legacy systems that we wanted to address. We also didn't really have true API enablement to make this data, this rich data about our assets, services, and the work done against them available to other sources. And so that kind of drove our strategy of saying, yes, we do need to modernize our ITSM platform, but we need to rethink about it. There were two other things that we evaluated, and we pretty much looked at ServiceNow and BMC at the time. Chevron is organizing and thinking about its IT on digital platforms going forward. And we also talked to the other corporate services to say where they were going. And fundamentally, if we want to stop taking a technologist view and take an end user view coming into our services catalog, our vision is to make all corporate services available by a couple of clicks, right? So if you think about an employee that needs something from HR or something from the facility management group or something from IT, in the past, they've had a long series of bookmarks on their browser, if they've lived at Chevron for any length of time, to remember where to go to find everything. And then if you went to IT, as I mentioned, we had 1,200 things in this catalog and a bunch of other satellite sites where people ordered. And so our vision is more around, hey, enterprise services, can we get people to find the services that they need quickly? And when they come to IT, can it be in an orchestrated fashion that's built for the end user, and organized in the way the end user is going to look for the services, which means a lot less acronyms and organized in language where they're going to find it. We, of course, evaluated based on total cost of ownership, but looking at ServiceNow, we saw a bigger business case of value. And then the other criteria we had really was sentiment. We'd had Remedy for a long time. BMC took a while to come to a modern interface. And in the meantime, our workforce kind of lost interest in using Remedy and didn't really see it as a modern platform, even though they had a new release coming out. And so that factored into our decision as well. So what were some of our key challenges? We're an energy company. I help run IT to support that energy company, but some of our internal IT processes like ITSM doesn't necessarily help Chevron, differentiate Chevron and its core mission in life. And so we encourage the team to say, why can't we use an industry best practice configuration? Why can't we work it the way the software is meant to work? And not think about us being differentiated, that we need some unique process. This also affected the methodology we picked in saying generally some kind of an SDLC methodology is going to start from doing gap analysis and gathering requirements, which breeds to more configuration and more customization. And so we wanted to take a different approach to say, let's go find something that's already been designed and worked for a global company and ask ourselves, let's implement that and say, why won't this work? We also wanted to make a much friendlier system and transition to something that's much more intuitive. People understand how to open incidents and close incidents. So if we make the system really intuitive, why do we need to spend so much time running classes and training people how to use the system, locking them into conference rooms or on CBTs, going through PowerPoint decks? And so we wanted to take a different approach to learning. We wanted to ensure that there was a customer-first mindset, that it was intuitive, as I mentioned, from an end-user perspective. We have taken the approach of having a single production instance. Currently on ServiceNow, we do cloud provisioning, HR. All of our HR case management is through ServiceNow. Our facilities group is coming onto ServiceNow, and our ITSM IT is all on ServiceNow. It is all running on a single production instance. I know this is a different strategy than many companies have taken that I've talked to. However, we believe that the value and there'll be efficiency there if we can run and just have to manage a single production instance. All the master data about people and locations and cost centers is all managed to the platform, and all of these different foundational and functional areas are able to leverage and use it. We did an upgrade a week ago, and just coordinated, and all groups went to Orlando at the same time, one upgrade. So that's some of the value and efficiency we see by doing it. It does take some governance as we're learning, and we're figuring out how to do that. Back in May 2019, when we started the ITSM implementation, my ITSM team could spell ServiceNow. That's about all they needed. That's about all they knew about it. And yet I set the goal of delivering the platform within 7 months. And so we did have a steep learning curve and had to figure out how to get a team up and running that could deliver in 7 months. And as I mentioned, we had this complex legacy catalog and really wanted to be able to deliver something different and much more end user focused. And as I said, we wanted to get it done quickly. So we started with a set of principles. I'm not going to drain every principle. You're free to read to your desire. This is what we directed the team to use and the product owners who were making decisions on the outcome. So first, definitely design with an end user experience in mind. Make it intuitive, and we are aspiring to get to more mobile enabled, any device access. We told product owners to follow a why won't this work for you approach. So let me jump and say at this point, we went to find a partner that we thought had an enterprise best configuration. We worked with KPMG, who brought that configuration to us. And so when we started our sprints, the product owners were given a set of stories that were pre-written to say, here's how an incident management process works at other big global companies. And the challenge for them was to say, can you accept it? Why won't this work? And so that changed and shortened the duration we spent trying to go through and deliver requirements and try and come up with some Chevronized, that's a verb we use at Chevron, Chevronized version of software that maybe didn't really deliver unique value to Chevron. Concurrently, we asked people to use out-of-the-box data fields and values. So we looked at the values that ServiceNow came with. We looked at the KPMG version. We tried to normalize and atone toward those values, and we tried to minimize adding a lot of unique fields unless we had something really critical that we needed to track for Chevron reasons. The principle up at the right was kind of that I didn't highlight, was really kind of saying we are still using ITSM. But one of the other things we looked at was to minimize approval steps. So when we looked at ordering, request ordering, change approvals, everything else, what we found was a high number of those transactions were approved, right? So if somebody's ordering a service and 90% of the time it's approved, why are we putting an approval step in that makes them go find their supervisor, who may or may not be around, maybe on vacation, maybe in a different location, to try and get this approval done? And so our philosophy was, let's try and allow services to be ordered without approval, notify out the back end that an employee ordered something, and if we need to reverse a few services, we will. But this allows things to move faster and improve end user satisfaction if they can get the services they need. On the technology side, I alluded to the two. We wanted to use ServiceNow as ServiceNow was designed. ServiceNow has spent many, many millions of dollars more than we could ever spend designing an ITSM system. So we wanted to leverage their thinking and leverage their good work they'd done on design. And then we did wrestle with having multiple instances and letting people have their own kind of space, and determined that we strongly believe the efficiencies are going to be there. And I'm already starting to see it by having a single production instance. It does require people to work together, but I think for the value that they get and for the other projects that are coming on that are already able to leverage the work that's been done, we're seeing value. And in this day and age, I think value is king. So we believe it will be cheaper to operate long term, and there will be higher value because all the data, everything's maintained on the single platform, single pane of glass that we're looking at. How we structured, we set up a true partnership structure with KPMG. All of the boxes essentially had what I would call two-in-a-box leadership. So that meant we assigned a Chevron individual and a KPMG individual as leaders in each box. They were to work together, joined at the hip, so you speak, to drive for the functional teams in the green swim lane there, all the functional areas, to drive the stories and the delivery for their functional area. I had a governance body set up as well that had senior management from across Chevron that represented and allowed us to test big decisions. And some of the big decisions, like, are we going to copy all legacy incident data into ServiceNow or just leave it in a data warehouse? We decided not to copy all data into ServiceNow, and we did just leave it in a data warehouse. But those were things that not all would agree with, and so I did test that with a set of senior management and got their support and endorsement. On the two-in-a-box leadership side, we wanted to deliver in a way that a partner had done it successfully at other companies, and they committed to being able to do it quickly in 7 months. So I turned over the keys to how we did it to the partner. I retained the keys to what we delivered to the Chevron individuals. So the Chevron product owner, the leader of each team, owned the final outcome of what the product looked like. The KBMG partner told us what order to do things and when to do them. They own the schedule. And so that's how we partnered and did it. We did have a couple of offshore teams. Chevron has a service center in Manila that we in the Philippines that did all of our service catalog work. And we had an offshore development team in India doing a lot of the technical configuration work. Our 7 months march to success, we did start May 1st on implementation, and we did deliver on December 1st. So it was 7 months to the day. We were all in Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, putting it in. The functional teams worked about 4 months on sprints. The integration team worked a little longer. We were able to reduce the number of integrations by about 30%. And then they had to work with a partner, so that went longer into the fall. The data modeling team, right? The CMDB is so critical, right? And so that was the center of all the processes. So they worked to get the data configured and what data we were migrating in and normalized. We had a good amount of data cleanup to do, especially where we had data feeds from other systems. I do want to talk a little on the change management side, because it's great to build a product, but you've got to get people to use it. And so we initiated a change champion network where we had representatives from every major IT group across Chevron that we used as the conduit to pass information to that business unit or that IT group, and also to receive feedback back. And they helped us shape some of the outcome, the product that we actually delivered by feedback. One of the early things we did, though, was start showing them the system in July. And as you can see on the learning activities, we had barely started configuration in June, right? And in month 2, we're already starting to show the product. This made people on the team uncomfortable because it wasn't finished, right? It wasn't polished and ready. But it allowed us to start allaying concerns. Anxiety went down when they started to see what this might become. And it also allowed us to get some feedback on the decisions we were making, such that as we finished the configuration, we ended up with a higher quality product in our belief. On the learning approach, I did say we wanted to take a very different approach, and what we think was a much cheaper approach for us, but we also think was a very effective. So in the past, and our stakeholders still expected, back in May and June, July, August, we kept taking calls for when's the training? When's the training? When are you going to give us the training? When are we going to schedule the training? And we basically told them we're not developing training classes. There are a few very specific areas where we did develop something, but in general, we didn't. Our approach was develop and deliver an intuitive system, and then 2, go through what we called kind of learning in the flow of work. So we started in July with show me sessions. In August, we continued demos. And then what we do is produce quick reference cards or little activities for them to do. So we'd have large WebEx type meetings, virtual meetings, where we'd spend a half hour or 45 minutes demoing an area, give them access to some materials, and give them access to an environment where they could go play. And we told them, go play, go try it, go try and enter an incident, go try and close an incident, go manage an asset record, and do that. We then, as we got towards the end, also had the product owners on to just answer Q&A, right? So we'd have a session, go through any kind of major changes or the like that had gone on in the last month, and then we'd open it up for Q&A. And so what this allowed people to do is if they were comfortable, they could beg off, right? They could come where they wanted to spend time. If they had questions or concern, they could come and have a voice and a way to ask those questions, and they'd be talking to the people making the design decisions. If they had trouble with the exercises, we could get feedback and realize where maybe we needed to do a little more work. And so we continued a series of sessions leading all the way into November. And then what we measured was the number of people that accessed the play environment, the environment we set up for them to play. We never got 100%. We were in the double digits. I think we were around 40 by the time we completed. But testing through our Change Champion network and testing based on the feedback we received on the calls, we determined the other people felt comfortable enough to go. And so we made the decision to go. So it was a very different approach. Looking back, I would have done it again, just as we did it. So what are some of our key learnings? Number one, this is something we knew and we tried our best to do on the project, and I think we did it pretty well, which was communicate, communicate, communicate. And if I didn't mention, communicate, communicate, communicate. So we had our stakeholders stratified across different levels. I communicated and worked with a large number of leadership bodies to let them know what was coming, when it was coming, and what some of the big decisions were that we had made, so that they knew what to expect. And especially the ones that might be a little controversial. As I said, our whole learning approach was different than people expected. So we started communicating that early and set expectations that way. We took flack or got some feedback on some of it, but we held firm where we thought it was the right way to go. We used the Change Champion network and produced materials and educated them. We went out to all users of the legacy platforms and people who we thought were going to use the new system. So we had a very robust multi-channel approach on communication. Our second key learning, and I'm sure ServiceNow will be happy to hear this, is we believe the platform works. As I said, I've mentioned spent 30 years delivering a lot of software. It is fully integrated, it works. Yeah, it occasionally has some bugs as releases come out and they patch them, but it is the ITSM module is a mature application and it works. On the service catalog, we did start that a little bit late. We knew we had a lot to transform, but we were working on some of the other functional design areas and we started that a little late. I would say that the design work around your catalog needs to start early with the project, not midway through. And so it became our critical path at the end. We did analyze all of our catalog entries, determine those that were high volume, and made sure those were all done. We did not have 100% done at go live, but most of the items that weren't in the catalog had a low volume request, and we knew that could be handled through our service desk or through a general form that we've made available for just any open request they could find. But the catalog is hard. It is also hard getting technologists to not speak in technical terms. And so one of the things I told them, and the example they're probably sick of me reminding them of, is, Amazon.com is out there. Myself and my family order off that site. Nobody trained me how to use it, and boxes show up at my door. So why can't I come to Chevron and have a catalog that nobody trains me how to use? I can find what I need, and it shows up on my computer or at my door. And so that's our aspirational goal. I think we've made significant steps toward that. But with our technical people, that takes a lot of coaching and mentoring to get there. I think we were successful because we aligned the principles and our methodology with the right partner. If I wanted to use best practice and not go through gap analysis and fit gap type stuff, then I need to go find a partner that has a global solution, and our partner did. And so we have implemented as close to that standard solution as we felt will work at Chevron. We aligned both sides of the project team on principles. We aligned on methodology. We used a modified Scrum methodology that seemed to work well. And we contracted on a fixed bid approach with the partner. So we were all motivated to deliver something that worked with quality on time. And we met all of those goals. And then our other learning, and I think people will be more amenable to it too, is it's okay to show an unfinished product. This aligns with Agile, where you do an MVP, but we were even pre-MVP. We were starting to show them at demo sessions and show me sessions some of what the product was going to look like well before it was finished. And I think it helped with adoption. It definitely helped with anxiety for the stakeholders that were going to use it. It wasn't something that was coming from them 6-8 months from now. It was something they could see along the way and get confidence that, oh yeah, that looks like an incident record. I can update that and manage it. And it allowed them to kind of do learning a little more on their own schedule and when they wanted to fit it in, because the system was available, the quick reference guides were available. All the demo sessions we recorded so they could go listen to a recording offline if they didn't want to have the opportunity to ask questions. So that worked well for us as well. So in the end, we did deliver a core ITSM platform to a big global corporation. It's used in 45 countries, 27 business units. We have about 6,200 fulfillers, users that are on the platform regularly. There are about over 80,000 employees and contractors across the company that come in at some point if they're ordering something or the like. But we did it. And I did receive a congratulatory note from the CIO about how well we were able to deliver a modern platform that supported our digital journey in a timely fashion. And I do believe this is an anchor for us running the IT function for the foreseeable future. All right, well, thank you for taking the time to view the session. That's our story. I hope you found some nuggets or something you can learn from what we learned. I know I learned as the team did every day as we went through it. And we're pretty proud and happy with the outcome. That being said, I also want to thank ServiceNow for putting on the virtual conference. We wouldn't have even been able to get together and do this and share some of our learnings. So I do want to thank them for that. And as I said, for bringing me into the office. Now, if I can only find a way to get a haircut. So with that, have a good day.